Now, with modern science, people driven by mission. Thank you. My name is Fawaz Abdullah. I'm the Boston, one of the founders of the Boston and the I would like to be here today. It's a great day, and it's a day where wrestling won against the world. Despite 15 months, the desire for killing everything, the Palestinian resistance continues to go down. The refuse even to get weaker, and Gaza and its people, God listen, they were willing to pay and sacrifice everything to make sure that this day will come. And the biggest good news about it, and this is something that 15 months, Israel, the United States, Germany, UK, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, all the world, the Zionist world, would not take a single president for 15 months. You don't go back. Anyways, thank you for being here. I'm going to leave this to Paul so we can start. So much for watching. I really enjoyed this meeting. This was a huge thing. Very helpful. Whether innovation, and all of the all. So we're here because tomorrow Donald Computer will be part for a second time. Yeah, we've been here before. But still we ask, are we ready for this second round for profession and increasing shit from the already needed target? In the coming months, we can expect the amount of changes in that will strongly impact every single part of our police stuff. And for some of us, the shit comes not as a new, but so surprisingly terrifying women of understanding about at our side and using their platform to help provide education. And for all of us in the room, it may feel like a new hour, but it's not our and again, it's likely we will face more of and just to name a few, we see the perspective of the horizon, looking at massive implications, assault on our liberties, and our right to participate in democracy. The flagging is coming for healthcare, housing, and public. The erosion of reproductive rights, the target of trans legal emergencies to our community, and committed to increase fossil fuel extraction. And again, this is just the name of it. And for all of these obstacles and obstacles to this, for the increasingly fast nature of the political dialogue, I would say it's driving opportunities to build a more effective peace and justice movement than we've ever had before. Think about every single button use all of back in the day. We're not going to stop here, right? During the party is we need to do two things. We need to maneuver negatively at the same time. So on the one hand, consider how to better communities and at the same time, how we take advantage of the emerging opportunities to stay our urban into the broader Pacific. We'll ask ourselves what strategies do we create in order to survive and get back. And beyond. It's not to be. Not is political reality we will be lost. And we prepare the possible goal vision of society of solidarity. They need what it needs to be, or it needs to be happening. By holding it together and using it for everything forward. Labor, peace, solidarity, peace, climate, and all so let's I'm going to wrap it up on walk for today. What we're going to do is all of the panelists, facilitators, will work with you to have conversations about how we'll reach those goals. How every single one of us brings a break to build this building together. And ultimately, we'll see how the efforts then lastly, we'll the other side of the whole picture.
Thank you, Joe. I'm Cole with Mass Peace Action. Welcome everyone to Rise and Resist. I want to thank our 8 sponsoring groups that pulled this together. We are Massachusetts Peace Action, Boston Democratic Socialists of America, North Shore for Palestine, Our Revolution Massachusetts, Doctors Against Genocide, Communist Party of Massachusetts, Watertown Citizens for Peace, Justice, and American Friends Service Commission. Thank you so much. Thanks also go to our 12 co-sponsor groups. They are the Alliance for Water Justice in Palestine, Campaign for Peace and Settlement and Common Security, Cape Cod DSA, unfortunately left out of the graphic, but nevertheless they're targeted. CD8 for Palestine, Dorchester People for Peace, Extinction Rebellion Boston, Green Rainbow Party, Franklin County Continuing the Political Revolution, Jewish Voice for Peace Boston, FDIU Local 511, United Northern Region Mountain and Western County Coalition for Palestine. Thank you so much. In unity, there is strength. You should have a burgundy packet. If you didn't get one, please go. The first page is the agenda of the day, and just to walk through our first panel on the genocide of Gaza, politics to resist it, will start immediately after my talk. We'll then hold 7 issue-oriented breakout tracks during the day. Each breakout will meet twice, once in the morning and once in the afternoon, to organize together. In the morning, they'll talk about who's here, share information about the issue, and how Trump's presidency is going to change the issue. In the afternoon, they'll go at it again to talk about what we can practically do together and also how the different issues can connect each other. In terms of the breakout locations, the genocide in Gaza, U.S. politics will meet here. There will be 4 breakouts on the 3rd floor. You can reach it through the elevator or the stairway. They're both on this side in the lobby. Immigration and mass deportation threat in 310. Federal, state, and municipal electoral politics in 320. A strong labor movement is democracy's best defense in 314. And then climate and ecocide in the alumni lounge, also on the 3rd floor. And then in the basement, we're going to have 2 breakouts, also reached by the elevator and the stairway. Great Power, Rivalry, and Nuclear War Danger in the green room, and War Against the Poor, fighting back against budget cuts and tax cuts in the women's makeup room. This is a theater. We unfortunately had to cancel the Civil Liberties and Repression breakout. However, Liv Santoro of the ACLU of Mass will present on this topic in the afternoon panel. Additionally, the ACLU has agreed to hold a workshop on civil liberties and repression at another date in the future, quite possibly at the March 15th follow-up conference. Some of these breakouts will probably be crowded. We're thrilled by the turnout today, but please bear with us and squeeze in as best you can. If you can't fit into your breakout room, you might have to change your breakouts. We will serve a Palestinian-style lunch catered by Zaki, a restaurant at noon in the alumni lounge on the 3rd floor. There's some space to sit in that room, but probably not enough for everybody to eat their lunch in that room. So some people will have to get their lunch and carry their own plates. Probably one of them, but no food or drinks are allowed in this auditorium. So please respect that, so RCC doesn't find a big mess to clean up at the end of the day, and hopefully they will invite us back. After lunch, we will regroup here at 1 o'clock. Mike Prokash will make some introductory remarks and will organize in the coalition building. We'll then have the afternoon panel covering 5 issue areas. Then the breakouts will convene again to discuss how we're going to organize together to deal with the issues. And then finally, we'll return to this auditorium the final time at 3:30 to talk about practical ways we can organize together the next steps in our coalition building. We will end by 5 o'clock. The snow is predicted to start at 5 o'clock, but it could be earlier, it could be later. But the heavier snow is supposed to start at 7. So we should still be all right. Up to 5 o'clock. But anyone who has a long drive to get home should use their consideration to be safe. There are bathrooms on each floor. Okay. At the end of the day, please fill the evaluation form in your packet, or you can fill it online. On that form, you can also indicate if you want to get involved in organizing what we hope will be a progressive coalition to respond to the crisis we're facing. And so if you're able to join in the organizing to that, you can indicate on the evaluation form. The sessions of the plenary sessions in this conference are being video recorded and will be available on the YouTube channel, hopefully tomorrow. And with that, I will invite Ziva up here to introduce the morning panel. Yeah.
I'm going to invite the panelists to
Rami to come up. Sit up here.
Okay, welcome everybody. So I'm going to moderate the panel, which is going to focus on constantly struggle with politics. When you get to the program, and I'm here I think for the CBA for Rami, you want to join us? All right, so the structure of this panel is. Then we're going to open it up. So I think we have about 50, 40 minutes. We're going to move late, so we've got 30, 25 minutes of questions, so we think on the speakers. And our goal, obviously, the right is to occurred. Not only because of the public administration and public content, but also today, for the purpose of this panel, and we're going to talk about the issues. So we're going to start first from there. We're going to zoom out to the macro level politics and the region and regional dynamics. And then ours to hear and what we can do. All right, so I'm going to introduce the panelists in the order that they're going to speak. So first we have in the middle here, Dr. Karan Kumar, who is a pediatric neurologist at Boston Children's Hospital, also affiliated with medical school. And she spoke where she spoke to the epilepsy and brain injury. Her clinical research centers on improving healthcare outcomes for refugee communities with a special interest in addressing the impact of social determinants like psychosis. She co-founded Doctors Against Suicide, which is what we're speaking about today. Organization and medical community response and prevent genocide and severe worldwide. And then we're going to have President Victoria, who is going to speak about the regional political dynamics and what the Trump administration is supposed and Robin Victoria is a Palestinian American. He's a distinguished public health fellow of the American University of Beirut and non-resident senior fellow of healthcare since DC. And during his 15 years career in journalism, he was the editor of the Joint and contributing reporter on the Middle East to the Financial Times and Food Spray. And then finally, Dr. Araya Chimenez, she is going to speak about opportunities for practice from the BDS movement to all of the efforts. And Dr. Chimenez, we've got nearly 60,000 people who vote no precedent. A leading voice for solidarity with Palestine, as well as an innovative health organization. Lebanese American, an instructor at Harvard Medical School, and practicing primary care physician and community organizer in public health. He co-founded the Health and Law Immigrant Solidarity Network, and during COVID, the Massachusetts Coalition for Permanent Rights, pretty much every major event, and they really serve I would say the connective tissue to collaborators. Okay, so take it. So I'm going to turn it over to Karan. Can you get one slides?
Thank you so much, Ziba. Thank you, Mama, for having us today. I want to title Arise and Resist. And Arise and Resist is what we will do. It is a privilege to be here today with my fellow candidates. And Laura is my friend and my comrade. We have been together over the past couple of years, almost every time we shared so many experiences. I'm thankful for her. I'm looking forward to meeting Rami and learning from him. It's my honor to be in a Palestinian panel on this day. Today is filled with emotions, and the news of the ceasefire comes as a huge relief to us Palestinians, and I hope to the world. The ceasefire is not solid, it's shaky, but we are seeing our people in Gaza celebrate, and that is enough for us. Great. From my people in Gaza, we have been asked not to celebrate victory already and reflect on the pain and the loss and the devastation that they have experienced. We have lost so much. We have lost amazing, incredible, remarkable people, our colleagues, over 1,100 medical professionals were killed. Gaza became the graveyard of children. Gaza is the place where the most baby children live right now. Gaza has children who are wounded without surviving families and who are now orphans, and their future is uncertain. There is so much pain to reflect on, and there is so much recovery to do. And for that, we are we center wisdom. We collect our missing limbs, we collect our dead, we collect our dead bodies, and we collect the children, and we center the children. So we are both medical doctors here, and we have worked together. We built together Doctors Against Genocide. We saw healthcare workers for a long time grow, and these are movements that came from the concept of Arise. And our mission is to bring the medical community together to fight against war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide, to fight against racial racism, to fight against structural injustice that allows a genocide like this to happen without a beat from our medical community, from our medical institutions. I should not say that, because we, the people, are different from our institutions. And we make our institutions what they are. And that is why we have to work together and make them better. And right now they are not well, they are not good, they are not just. And there is so much to fix. At our organization, Doctors Against Genocide, we have been inspired by somebody like Brett wearing her white clothes. We, myself, and my classmate, Dr. Nidal Jabour, our classmates who are Palestinians, and we have been thinking about genocide for years now, because we have seen the writing on the wall. We have seen the dehumanization, we have seen the segregation, we have seen the complete denial of the human rights of our people. We have seen the children in Palestine being incarcerated and thrown in jails for months and months. We have seen children as young as 12-year-olds being charged with life sentences. These were times leading to genocide and experiencing genocide for the past century, because conditions were made for us to not live a healthy, prosperous life. We have been pushed and pushed and pushed to the corner, and enough is enough. We will change this reality and make this world better. And as the co-founders of Doctors Against Genocide, founded by Palestinian doctors, we are determined to make this difference. Engaged with solidarity through mobilization. We have been so lucky to have been surrounded by amazing colleagues, talented, enthusiastic, and passionate. And we have made a big movement happen. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of every one of you here in this audience who has been to protests, to pop-up clinics, to conferences speaking about structural racism that allows it to happen. And we have developed a skill set that will stay with us for the unforeseen future. We will continue to work and do this to make the world a more just place. And Gaza inspired us all and will continue to be our guiding light. And our colleagues in Gaza will be our role models because they never left their patients. They were incarcerated from the operating room, from the halls of their house, taken into tanks. Dr. Husam Abu Safiya went to the Israeli tank thinking that he will talk to the soldier in the tank to navigate how to save his hospital when he was taken and tortured and who knows what is happening to him. And we say, free Dr. Abu Safiya and everyone with him to be incarcerated. And we are in the middle of several campaigns together as healthcare workers. We are asking our institutions to issue statements, use their big lobbying offices to advocate for protection of healthcare workers in Gaza, release the healthcare workers that have been incarcerated, and protect the children. Every single institution, every single association, every single hospital will get this letter and be informed that they have a responsibility to witness and they have a responsibility to change their complicity. We started Kamal Adwan pop-up clinic for sickness from genocide. We have been sick from genocide. We have been having medical symptoms, in fact, symptoms of anxiety, shortness of breath, nightmares, lack of sleep, intense anxiety and inability to sleep, inability to enjoy normal life activities. We have been working non-stop to prevent the killing of a child and the incarceration of healthcare workers. And we continue to have these symptoms. We called sick last month to create these pop-up clinics. And during these clinics, community members came to us as medical doctors, as psychiatrists, as nurses, and they spoke to us about their symptoms from sickness from genocide. We are committed to the cure, and the cure is to end genocide for once. And we will do that together. Please follow us. Follow Healthcare Workers for Palestine. Follow Doctors Against Genocide. We need our community to support us. We need every one of you to educate the others, because this is a movement that is relentless and it will continue unabated. A ceasefire was never our goal. Our goal is to end the conditions that allow genocide to happen in any community, not just Palestine, but everywhere. And thank you so much.
Now we're going to take this back out to the room.
We have 10 minutes.
You have 10 minutes. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm really awed by this to see such a group of dedicated, decent people working together. I'm awed by this audience and to see such a big group of dedicated
people coming together just before the snowstorm in New England to work for justice in Palestine, justice for all. This is something not only very powerful, but unprecedented. Here is unbelievable progress. But first, I want to start in the Middle East. So I'll basically give you a bullet point headlines and discuss some of these points and then break out and the time everybody wants to bring me a coffee and a donut. So the Middle East is going through the Middle East broadly is going through, that includes Turkey, Iran, Israel, and all the Arab countries. It's going through the most dynamic moment of transformation since the modern Middle East was created in its current configuration after World War I. And there are a few trends that you can notice. The first is the assertion, the brutal, often savage assertion of United States, Israel joint military predatory assaults on the entire region, not just Palestine, but Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and they will go anywhere they need to kill, to subjugate, to traumatize and terrorize people, to assert essentially the biggest force that has been powerful in these last, 16 months, which is the fact that the colonial period never ended. It never ended after World War II. The colonial dynamics are still at play, and the United States, Great Britain, and Israel are the critical core of that triangle that is asserting colonial supremacy in the region without formally colonizing land, but by asserting the fact that what Israel and the US and the Great Britain governments, not people, but what the governments want, is what the people of the Middle East could do. So this is an extraordinary moment of the reassertion of colonial predatory power. So linked to that is the disintegration of Arab national sovereignty. There are 22 Arab countries. Not a single one of them is self-determined. Not a single one of them has mechanisms to offer citizenship rights. Not a single one of them, without exception, even though some of them have done a lot of good things, especially the small oil countries that have a lot of money, but not a single country has passed the 4 critical tests of the modern statehood period of the last century, which are citizenship, statehood, sovereignty, and equitable sustainable development. All 4 of these critical dynamics of a decent, sustainable state, the Arab countries have failed, and we see the failure most dramatically now as the Arab world watches the genocide and either asks the US to help them more or just stays quiet. The third big trend is the combination of pauperization in the Arab world and solidarity with the Palestinians and other people fighting for justice. The Arab region, data now clearly shows that about 2/3, roughly, of all Arab people don't have enough money to cover their monthly food and basic medical and other expenses. The Arab world has been turned into a region of paupers. They rely, all the governments except a few oil countries rely on foreign aid, and the oil countries rely on foreign military protection and other things. So these 3 trends together have created upheaval in the region. Migration, legal, illegal migration, terror organizations, the new sovereignties emerging within states. So Hamas and Hezbollah are the best examples of sovereign, of powerful domestic entities that emerge within our countries with a nationalist focus anchored in local identities, and they emerged into military action because the governments were not doing their job. The Lebanese and Palestinian governments could not protect their people, and therefore these groups emerged organically, as they do anywhere in the world where governments fail, and therefore popular action has to take place. So that these broad trends in the region are the ones that the Israelis and the Americans are trying to capitalize on, to institutionalize, and to broaden. And we don't know exactly what Trump and his people are going to do, but it's going to be dramatic. It's probably going to be more helping the Israelis, hurting the Arabs, which will simply accelerate the forces of resistance that have already manifested themselves. The second point I make is that this is a historic moment because for the first time ever, the issue of Palestine has been an American domestic political issue that caused the downfall of the Democratic Party and made them lose the election. The fact that Trump won, and most of the people like us don't like what Trump stands for, is actually irrelevant for the moment. Because it wasn't us who made Trump lose, it was the Democratic Party. It was Genocide Joe and Gunslinger Harris, Kamala Harris. They're the ones who made Trump win. They have to pay for it. But the fact that the Palestine issue became a domestic American political and electoral issue and allowed all seven swing states to be won by Trump is incredibly significant at a historic level. And I think one of the key things that groups like all of you here need to do is to analyze how that happened and how that process can keep going. Not only did Palestine become an American domestic political electoral issue, it became the litmus test of global moral commitment all around the world. The Palestine justice issue has now become the fourth global moral issue that people all over the world care about and go out and demonstrate about regularly. Black Lives Matter is one, which is racial justice. Me Too, gender equity, environmental protection, climate change, and now Palestine. These are the four big global moral issues that drive mass activism and protests. And this is a significant thing. The third point I'd make is we need to be aware that mobilizing people for political action, like in these four issues, and we've seen it on Palestine repeatedly, people all over the world, hundreds of thousands of people demonstrating. Mobilizing people is not difficult. Changing policy is difficult. And our challenge is to understand the linkage between why people mobilize, how they can target their collective forces to bring about policy changes in political systems. And this is something that I think people should spend a lot of time, and hopefully we'll do that in some of the breakout sections. My lesson from my 60 years, or almost 2 years, it'll be 60 years that I've been doing this since 1966, is that the critical forces to bring about change, and I base this on what I witnessed in the civil rights movement, the early days of the women's rights movement, the early days of the environmental movement, and there was no days of Palestine back then, but now there is. That the change happened when people at the local level worked together in small groups. They tried to influence other local people that they knew. Change happens when an individual hears from another individual whom they trust. Could be a church person, a synagogue person, a media person, a teacher, it doesn't matter, a bus driver. If somebody you trust tells you something, you're going to listen, and it might change your mind. You're not going to change your mind because you see something on TV or even sometimes you read something. So local action, collaboration among different groups, which is exemplified here, storing, chronicling, and sharing knowledge on a regular basis is critical. And finally, targeting combine shared action onto political centers. And so in my last 20 seconds, we have a lot there's a lot that's been achieved. It looks pretty grim for Palestinians right now. But if you look at all the changes that have happened, public opinion in the United States is incredibly shifting towards a more just position between Israelis and Palestinians. The vanguard of progressive groups, including all of you here, is a very dramatic process. Court cases, there are court cases all over the U.S., all over the world, taking people to court for genocide, for discrimination, for whatever. The desperation of AIPAC, where it has to spend almost $20 million to defeat 2 Democratic primaries, that's desperate action. They can keep doing that for a while, but it's going to bring a backlash that's going to hurt them. The presence, the action of the social media and the alternative media, which never existed before, and even the mainstream media in spots is reporting on issues now that it never did before. And you're going to see a big change when the international media goes into Gaza. And finally, the critical lesson for me that I've learned is the convergence between populist activism, bringing together groups of activists in different fields, with the legal action taken by groups in legal systems domestically and internationally, to the point now where Israeli officials and soldiers are afraid to travel abroad because they are fearful of being arrested. And by the way, anybody who does illegal action, whether they're Arabs, Israelis, Americans, Germans, Europeans, doesn't matter, should be held to the same standard. Our credibility can only be because we are foreign and around the Thank you.
Right. And I'm just going to ask to cue up Lara's slides, Dr. Germain's slides. That quick. Cool. Great. All right, Dr. Germain, it's over to you.
Thank you. Thanks everyone. It's really exciting to be here today and with this like fantastic program. I just have been reflecting lately. I think that a dear friend of mine said to me about a year ago, which is that we are no longer on the original. And I think that is a huge shift to be thinking about. If you can move to the next slide, I just want to talk about 2 things. First of all, so I want to encourage us all to be thinking strategically as we move on, because there's been a lot of wonderful energy and action, but just now thinking every single thing that we do, let us do it in service of a clear goal that is targeted at a clear target. This is, and I highly recommend for folks who haven't, and I know that we're going to have a conversation about organizing strategy. This is, a table of the framework from the Midwest Academy, where you have a very clear goal that you've identified by your organization. Think about your organizational consideration, who's your constituency, who's the decision maker who has the power to give you the thing that you want, and then what your tasks are. So you don't just do a weekly stand up just to do a weekly stand up. It's nice. It's a wonderful way to build community. We do a weekly stand up because we have a local diversity resolution and we're trying to get people to sign on to it. We collect names of people that stop by and talk to us and their contact information to build the network in our organization, so that everything is targeted towards that overarching goal. We have a timeline over which we want to achieve our goals. Next slide. I shared a panel with a professor of another university who quoted from Dr. Martin Luther King's letter to the Birmingham jail, which has this amazing quote about how the true enemies of justice are white moderates. So I highly recommend everyone go reread that. But another thing that he writes in this letter, not that he was remembered for his just positions on or just thinking about how to use to create a crisis and foster tension. So there was this obvious source of tension and clearly devastation from ongoing genocide. And people are going to turn buried out of their rubber now. They're going to say, okay, well now the ceasefire's over, you're fine. We are going to continue to use direct action. Direct action is an umbrella term. It refers to overall kinds of actions that lead directly to a change in response to our role, as opposed to just lobbying representatives, recognizing that the act directly through petitions, through marches, through demonstrations, to make Palestine, as my panelists have already said, a global issue. Next slide. So, I've already gone through some of these, thinking about how we are articulating what are our clear demands to our community, in our community, whether it's our workplace, the right to be able to speak and teach about Palestine, whether it's state actually represented, I don't know things about the bill, we try divest the teacher retirement fund from Israel. Building tension, and then that's the legal crisis power exerting pressure on targets in ways that build power. So thinking about that we use it, when do we use it, when do we use it, and thinking about how that the way that and then flipping narratives rather than cast. So thinking about, I think I always think back to something that I think you heard me say maybe over 2 years ago in the panel, which is that these power players, these colonizers, the real world, they don't think about people as people. They don't think about them as ants. So when they're trying to go colonize a country or steal oil or manipulate people, they just think, okay, I don't really care if people die. What do I need to say and do to make the public feel something so that I can continue to function? And it is helpful to think about as we are doing things and as we're seeking meaning and organizing, how do we create a sort of it's almost, I think that this is like political theater. Like how do we create events that make the right people feel the thing to move them along? And then another piece, part of this is that locals and moderate need to witness themselves, they need to be failed and betrayed by all over and over again. Because they are so, they remember, they believe that the system is doing what it's supposed to. They think that powerful people have their best interests in mind. Maybe sometimes they do. And so that they need to see with their own eyes the degree of racism that we're facing. They need to see and feel, and the way that they feel, the pain of Israelis and Jews. They need to feel the pain of Arabs and Palestinians. Next slide. So I've been thinking about this for a while. I think it was just a lot of us spend a lot of time. Whether it is eating them, and after the Global Preference campaign, had a conversation with somebody who was connected with the leadership of the DNC and the Navy, and she said to me, well, Paris is just, she's not going to do anything, okay, you just have to understand. And it seemed at that point, like one year, that strategy is just a media strategy. It was never anything else. It was a very powerful media strategy, but it was only a media strategy. And that we really need to be thinking about how every single one of our campaigns directly to put direct pressure on people that are suffering from genocide. So let's all think as we are doing our work about what is the BDS angle that we are incorporating into our organizing. Number two, exposing the discrimination. This gets down to the code of liberties. It's some colleagues of mine at General tried to do peace, and they wanted to withdraw from Palestine, they didn't have. And when that was exposed in the media, they told me, so many people saying, oh my God, I can't do that. Of course it happened. We all know it's going to happen. It's been happening to us for years and years, and so we don't even bother to talk. But the more benign and mundane the thing is that they so the worse it looks when you expose it. So plan things, bait repression and then expose the repression, it will radicalize people. The media, developing and distributing narratives that resonate widely in the more public. And say something that maybe a little there, but thinking about what are the ways that we can pray. I have another slide, so I think understand it's particularly to the talking about Palestinian freedom, talking about, you know, when we use the word martyrs, I'm not sure that it lands the way that we would like it to in this country. Because in truth, right, Sandra Bland is a martyr, Trayvon Martin is a martyr, George Floyd is a martyr. That's not the word that Americans use. We can use the same means that people understand, say their names. So just thinking about how we get our message, and just don't disregard the media, because the media, there are words out there that want to president to do right. And then the electoral process, which I know we're going to thinking about how we like ranks, like voting, you know, maybe we need that. I think we do that. So, you know, just to my point, right? BDS, it's making a difference. It's really slamming with it. Next one. The genocide entry, look out for these people. There's somebody, there's someone on the MGH board who is the CEO of Lockheed Martin. What is the CEO of Lockheed Martin doing on the board of a major hospital? That's ridiculous. These are everywhere, and that's why they're trying to silence dissent, because they are war volunteers. They're making money off genocide. Take a look at this guy. It's awesome. It was put together by Auto Justice Project, Little Cliff, and Acre. It's great. Just, you know, go see if anybody in the local here. And Little Cliff has a good next slide. Next slide. Oh, here we go. Oh yeah. So no, just if you could just like. I mean, and just click multiple times. So basically, you know, just to demonstrate the degree of repression that's happened with these universities, it's just out of hand. I don't need to even talk about it. People losing their jobs. You know, most recently found by resigning. Next slide. You know, and then just these anti-Semitism trainings. ADL is everywhere right now. ADL is to create these rules about what is allowed to be taught in schools. They have a formal commission that they, you know, so just, you know, rejecting the ADL wherever we can, and making sure to do it in a way that doesn't make it look like, you know, we're talking next. We are against anti-Semitism, and we're against all kinds of racism, and we need to fight those kinds of racism together. Next slide. But I think that this is one of the key points I want you to take home today, because it's, you know, it is so interesting all the people we have in the room. This blueprint that is being used right now by the scientists, speech about counseling has been used over and over by the right wing, diversity, teaching about gender and other things. And the way that I think about this is that really the extremists are using Zionism as a wedge to undermine diversity. If we can help left or people on the left understand that this is coming for this machine is coming for them, and that they have skin in this game, I think that we can really start to even get to have a few change that we need to actually completely liberate. Next slide. And so this is just part of the example. This article is actually from 2021. So speaking top-down on free speech, on education about gender and 44 states have introduced bills on speaking on steps that address such a constructive one. And in 2021, most of them were federal devices. It originated from an executive order from President Trump. And one of the divisive concepts that he listed was structural racism. And it's stuff that is now bread and butter in medical and medical education. And so it's just to demonstrate it's the same exact framework. Next slide. These divisive concepts, and this is actually some of them on the left here. And just to say, people are misdefining, intentionally misdefining psychological safety. Psychological safety is not being quiet and not talking about stuff so we don't offend people. Psychological safety is feeling like you can talk about divisive concepts safely, making mistakes with members of your team. Psychological safety is being able to talk. It's not. Next slide. And of course, we all know about the non-prosecutor bill, these dangerous bills that would suppress protected free speech. The more that we can shift this and make it like, oh, look at these, right-wing extremists. They're trying to crush our democracy. They're trying to crush free speech. They don't care about anything that's in their way. And we need to work all together to stop it and partner together. I think that there's, next slide. And this is sort of, I just think that I would recommend that everybody go out and read this because it's very interesting. Over a year ago, we gave an interview that talked about how he brought down, takes credit for bringing down Harvard President Gay. And he talks about the way that he knew he needed to get the narrative into the left-wing media. So he brought this concept into the right-wing media, and then he sort of gained people and he slowly convinced people in the center and on the left that they needed to cover it. And then that was what brought it to. So think about how do we get our issue framed in a way to slowly infiltrate and shift minds and bring more and more people onto our side. Next slide. And so, thinking about some of these ideas, this is from the Institute for Middle East Understanding. When we're putting together our media materials, thinking about instead of using Israel in quotes, using Israel, instead of using Iowa, using Israeli military, of course I wouldn't say IPF, that is their Hezbollah. But just, thinking about supporter of Palestinian freedom as a kind of sort of phrase that could actually help shift people who have been immersed in this, in the negative, political framework. Next slide. And then just lastly, thinking about, where are people getting their information from? Because social media has been huge in shifting public opinion, but not everybody is on social media. So this is data from some Pew surveys that I thought was interesting. There's still something like 40% of people who are getting their news, or 30% of people who are getting their news from TV, and of course also from news websites, about 30 to 50%. And we've got 30 to 50% on social media. So thinking about where are people getting their information, and how we can get pieces into the mainstream news. Like out of time. One more slide, I think I did. So, just being aware of where people are getting their news from. Next slide. I think we'll have one more. But that we have gotten these amazing stories into the press. And there are these reporters out there who are sort of just sitting there waiting to cover our stuff well. The coverage of the vote no preference work was surprising to all of us. Actually, it's absolutely sensational. And thinking, what are ways that we can get our stuff into the press, because we can. We've gotten really good coverage and yeah. So in sum, just be really clearly strategic with our goals, emphasizing media, making Palestine a local issue, going beyond social media, and then also thinking outside. I think it's going to be a lot of I think it's going to be a lot of
Okay, so we're going to open it up to the audience. They're going to be running with microphones. So if you have questions, please raise your hand. And while we're getting organized there, I will maybe open it up with one question, which is, we have a lot of folks from different organizations that are really at-risk, representing interests of the administration. I'd love to hear your thoughts and spirit sector mobilization, where do you see the greatest immediate opportunity for convergence of these issues? So thinking about your, what is your focus and what are your levers of change? I'd like to throw that out to you guys for each area.
I feel that, there is a concern, but the organization should continue and the work should continue, regardless whether they take away non-profit status or they give it back or they crack down. And these are, we have to resist and we have to organize and we have to continue our work no matter what. It's very important because if we don't, what kind of world we leave for the next generation? So I feel that it is a concern, but it's a concern that I'm willing to kind of factor in how I do.
And are there other organizations or movements that you think there's an opportunity to align with right now where we could make greater impact together?
Sure, I can. I think all the movements. I mean, I think that pointing out the way that this isn't really a right-wing strategy. It's a right-wing strategy to try actually walk with each on all levels. It's really, I think it's really persuasive. And I think that the more that we can do sort of mild repression and expose that strategy and then openly name it, I think that it's better. I mean, I just think that the better it will even be, because if people see that, people are being repressed that they be surprised about, I think that then I think what we want to do is really pin the blame. Because this is actually, in a lot of ways, where the and we saw the last administration and grants position, and I think that using that so that we can create this shift. I think that there's another important piece here, though, around the mission, which is just being careful that we don't also get stuck in that. The more that we can think about our organizations as, I'm not sure how powerful it is. This is something we've been doing in Palestine, where people ask us to endorse an event, and then, we were recently asked by an ACTIV event that was sponsored by which has now been frankly, completely incorrectly designated as a terrorist organization. But because of that designation, it is very dangerous to co-sponsor and have your logo on an event. So we were advised by lawyers that we should not do that. And so we're thinking about, well, what is the benefit of these massive endorsements anyway? If everyone decides to do an international day of activism, let's work together in ways that allow for plausible deniability while allowing us to be things, so that if one organization takes down, the rest of them fall like them. Great,
For collaboration across the organizations in this one.
Yeah, I think the collaboration is absolutely probably number one priority, because it's the easiest and most effective way to expand the numbers of people working together, zeroed in on a specific issue, one issue at a time. So this is something that we saw during the uncommitted movement in the primaries about a year ago, when the resident groups of the Palestinian Americans and Muslim Americans, labor unions, student groups, were all church groups, when a lot of different groups worked together, they got big numbers and they achieved their goal, which is to deny the Democrats a victory, because the Democrats ignored the moral issues that the uncommitted movement was raising. That has to be expanded if possible. The problem is the Zionist movements, the State of Israel, Christian fundamentalist extremists, and now the Republican Party are working together to bring about changes that not only ignore the Palestinian issue, but criminalize any activism to make it a law that if you if you work for Palestine, you're doing anti-Semitism, you're going to go to jail. And that's why the backlash of the legal action is so important. And the established institutions of moral and legal rights, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty, and many others like them, are now being totally ignored and then attacked by this coalition of extremists from the right, kind of new McCarthyist movement. They tried to do this with the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court. They're trying to do it in the United States. And the danger here is, and this is one of the backlashes that the Zionists and Israel, and unfortunately ordinary Jews are going to feel probably in the days and the months and years ahead, which is a backlash against Israel and Jews and Zionism for degrading the fundamental principles of American pluralistic constitutionalism, free speech, equality, due process, all the fundamental most core elements of American political life, even though it has deficiencies. But when those fundamental principles are whittled down, because Israel doesn't like to see what's going on for Palestinian activism, that impacts all Americans. And so these are areas where collective action can be very effective to simply affirm the basis of Palestinian life. You've got to do it, though, more effectively than the incompetent way that Kamala Harris did it in her campaign. What she did and what the mainstream liberal media is doing is totally ineffective and probably counter-effective, driving more votes to Trump.
Thank you. All right. So first question, over two questions, and then we'll have y'all respond to those.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Great talk, analysts. I appreciate all the information. I just want to role in science goals, very long question, as well as what is the Western Asia or Middle East, as is known in Europe and rest of the world, what can they do? Because Europe and Israel and the US really big forces that are in this cause of chaos is all I can think of.
Thank you. Maybe we'll get one more. Is there another hand? Okay, in the back there. Back left. Or who has the microphone? Can you hear me? So, especially regarding so the most the versus Stephen Colbert, who has it perfectly displaying an Israeli flag last week. Sorry, map of Israel last week. Just talking about the same thing, that's a big propaganda. How do we fight those things that are so everywhere, even in liberal media? And the other question is, how do we vet these independent medias are coming up because mainstream media refuses to cover this?
Okay, so one question around the role of Christian Zionism. What can entities in West Asia and Middle East do? And then we have questions about the media, this media watch or vetting independent media.
Ilan Pappé, the Israeli historian, has just amazing book, which I'm reading. It's 460 pages about the history of Israel, Zionist lobbying in the West. He goes through the whole process, starting in Great Britain in the 18th century and ending in the United States. Those are the two principal points, London and Washington. And one of the points that he clarifies in his historical research is that Zionism started as a Christian movement in England and then spread to other places. The Jewish groups who picked it up in the 1860s, 1880s, they has different dynamics. But the idea of the Jewish state in Palestine was a Christian Zionist idea. My sense is that, again, based on my long years of experience in engaging on these issues, we should never allow ourselves to be put in a position where we're responding to ridiculous accusations by whoever it may be. If it's the President of the United States, the Christian Zionists, media people, whoever it is, if somebody makes an update, this is one of their strategies. I've done a study of Zionist propaganda and that's how they have worked over 100 years. Published in a paper on this, all the different things. They try to change the subject, get you off balance, talk about the big size of the Arab world, little Israel, talk about things that are totally really secondary and not important. And we should never fall into the trap of responding to those things. So Christian Zionism is one of those ideas. I think what we have to constantly do is affirm the rights of the Palestinians, the universality of those rights for all people, and how the West would gain more by being even-handed than it is now. And we see this happening already. People in the West losing in various categories because of its full support for Israel.
Did you, and do either of you want to comment on either of those pieces?
Just to respond to that question about how to respond, I think my response is also, similar to but thinking less about responding, more about how are we going to frame, what's the frame that we want to use that's going to be most persuasive to people. I think getting the real math of what like over the years, actually, I know over years BTA stuff. I think that's really powerful. Getting the proper truthful images out, circulating, and then thinking about the way that we're framing. So when we ask a question, remember that when the media asks you a question, most of the time the question itself is never answered only yours. So just say what you want to say. And think about the way that we want to be framing these issues. And I think that's a powerful frame forces that, along with the popularization of the Arab world, which is, the poverty, homelessness is at an all-time high. And all of these are policy decisions. They are policy decisions to make people in this country poorer while they spend more money for war abroad. And so it is a local issue, and I think that is actually instead of spending $900 million, we could probably send everyone to school, university for free, however,
We have time for one more question. I don't know who has the microphone, so we're going to have to go with whoever has the microphone, but we don't have it. Okay, why don't we go over here to the far left if we don't already have somebody with a microphone.
Thank you. So speaking of the arrest warrants against the Israeli criminal genocide, how do you the U.S. backlash against the international criminal courts, the sanctioning of the ICC, and the current takeover of the presidency of the ICC by the Ugandan judge, now that the Prime Minister of Government is the former president of the ICC, and now the Ugandan president, who points more towards the is now the president of the ICJ. How do we address this so that we don't have to?
Yeah. One of the strategies that Israel and the Zionist movement has used is to discredit the whole United Nations system, and to zero in on their ability to influence and get the American centers of power to support Israel. Those centers of power in the White House and the Congress. Essentially, that's all. That's what Israel most cares about. Those two things. In the Congress, we're starting to see a very slow erosion of the total support for Israel. And you can get now about 100 members of Congress to criticize Israel and a vote, which is unheard of before. You might have had 3 or 4 before. So the UN system and then the US itself is trying to discredit the UN system. So I should not spend a lot of time on defending a system which has failed the Palestinian people already. But I would affirm that it is the only mechanism we have to express to the world what are the moral foundations of human civilization. How do countries and people coexist peacefully? ICJ and ICC are supposed to do that. But if they suddenly exclude Israelis or fall prey to American pressure, they lose their credibility. So it's a very difficult question. And I think the answer is to find other legal mechanisms, which is exactly what's going on now. There are dozens of groups like Palestine Legal, Law for Palestine, Al-Mafal, Adala. There's a dozen of more of these groups in Europe and North America and in Palestine and Israel that are working to use the law to affirm that what Israel is doing is criminal, what the US government is doing is supporting genocide, is complicity, and in some cases they're winning, in other cases they're being stolen. But this is the best path forward, to keep using the institutions of law that exist and to keep emphasizing what these cases are showing us, because law cases are the best place to get a lot of really credible facts. Lawyers spend a lot of time compiling their briefs, and the ICC and the ICJ and the other Center for Constitutional Rights in the US, ACLU and others, they generate tremendous knowledge. It's all on their websites. And we should use this to just share with people.
Thank you, Rami. One other thing, just like Rami said, is creating new systems that defend human rights for everyone. And we are trying to do something like this in the medical community, apart from the legal community. We're trying to introduce a medical definition for genocide, and we're trying to also define the genocide enabling apparatus, and we submitted many healthcare groups have submitted several opinion pieces and several submissions to multiple UN bodies. We submitted one to the rapporteur on the right to health that addresses the two things that I said, the medical definition of genocide and genocide enabling apparatus, to provide a framework for medical community to prevent and speak out against genocide even before the legal community speaks out, because the legal community needs a lot of evidence and a lot of court time and interventions and ICC and ICJ, and we, the medical community, have not been able to have a say, and we want to push back and actually create a space for us to be the ones who call out genocide before it happens, because ultimately it is a public health crisis that needs to be addressed by people who take care of patients and not by lawyers.
Great, thank you.
And you know, I think this realizing also that all of these structures are capable of doing more when the court of public opinion is, you know, mobilized on their side. And I just wanted to, I think, been able to forgotten before. One of the most powerful things that I recall from last year was actually when we started to mount a challenge against Representative Clark for districts. Ultimately, but I just want to say that the energy, when people felt like we were actually going for someone, and it felt like it just had a different kind of love to it. We really felt like we were doing something. We felt like we were, going after this terrific leader of the and with our messaging and so I really want to encourage, thinking about to these structures of power. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. So we are going to move into breakouts right now, like as Paul said, we're going to breakout. Palestine is going to be here this round. Those of you that are doing information